your feet for a couple of weeks. Karen said, it's impossible. I got to do a cooking class. Now, it happened to be when we were there that it was snowing, like we had like over a foot of snow. So we had lots of hot water in there, so I went and got the hot water, and I didn't want to, fiddle with going down to the bathroom and getting ice. So I just took a bucket, and I got some snow, and I used that for my ice. I like to go as elementary as I can go. I like to go back to the basics. So let's talk about hydrotherapy. What is hydrotherapy actually? What is it? Well, it's actually the use of water both internally and externally. So you can use it in both methods in order to get healing. Okay? Now, we know that water comes in 3 states: a solid, a liquid, and a gas. And we're going to talk about these 3 and how you can actually implement these in hydrotherapy. Okay? And we're a little behind, so I'm going to try to move us along a little bit. Here are some practical facts that you can use. I used one of these in church today. I want to go over this again. 75% of all Americans are chronically dehydrated. I think I am right now. 75%, that means many of us here in this room. Did you know that the lack of water is the #1 cause for daytime fatigue? You know some kids in school, teachers, that their heads are down on the desk and they're taking a nap. You got a coworker who's struggling to get through the day. What does it hurt to ask them and say, hey, why don't you try a little water and see if this helps? That's simple. And you know what that is? That is missionary work 101. And we don't seem to know how to do that. I don't know why, but someone says they got a headache, that's the first place you go. Now, a hot foot bath is great for guess what? For headaches. But the first method, for me, I always go, remember in math, right, you go to the least common denominator? That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to say water first. Drink some water first, see if that's helpful. If that's not your issue, then we'll go to plan B, right? 8 to 10 glasses of water a day will relieve back and joint pain for many people. Knowing people suffering from back and joint pain? This is a way, guess what? Just try a little extra water. Maybe try a little less soda and a little bit more water, right? Because sodas and coffee, what do? They dehydrate you, right? So we want to try some water here. Listen to this. A 2% drop in body water can cause and diffuse and cause you memory loss. You know some people struggling with memory loss? Try that first. It doesn't hurt to give it a try, right? There are some other things that you can do when it gets a little bit more severe, but I can tell you right off the bat, water is a great method to help people. I'm going to have to skip this, but there's a lot of history in hydrotherapy, including Hippocrates, who was the father of modern medicine. He used hydrotherapy several thousand years ago to treat ulcers, to help people to get ready for surgery. He did it for hemorrhages. He did it for, hypertension. So he used it for a lot of different issues. But hydrotherapy really fell off the bandwagon until this gentleman, and I want to tell you the story because it's really kind of a really cool story. Anybody here heard of Vincent Priesness? Well, Vincent Priesness was a peasant Australian farmer, and he's very interesting. When he was just a young man, like in his early teens, he sees a deer, and this deer, well, it's a male, it's a mare deer, it's a buck, right? And it's limping toward some water. And it goes and it gets in the water, and it sits in this water for about 20 minutes. And then it limps back out of the water. And he thinks, this is interesting. Why did he do this? So he says, I bet you he comes back again tomorrow by the same time. So he goes and finds the same spot that he was in to see this buck the first day, and he goes back, and sure enough, the next day, here comes the buck limping back in again. And this buck does this for about 2 weeks. On one day right in there, this buck comes just bouncing out of the water, and he's moving. He's no longer limping. And he says, there must have been something in this water that this deer knew would help him. So, fast forward, he's getting up into his late teens, and he has an accident. He's hauling wood to keep his house warm. There's an accident with the horse and the wood. Somehow or another, he gets trapped under the wood and he gets hurt, and it breaks lots of his ribs. And so what happens is the doctors really didn't want to see him. And so he takes some old shirts and he rips them up, and he puts them around his ribs. And he does this for several months. During this time, the doctor says, you're probably not going to live. And if you live, you're never going to be able to walk again. Well, listen, there's some other internal issues that was probably going on. Can't explain that exactly, but just from broken ribs, you would think you'd be okay. But it must have been a very serious accident. Within a matter of several months, he was completely restored back to complete health. So he started practicing this on his farm animals. Pretty soon, people started hearing about this and started coming, from the village and stuff like that. And before his life was over, people had come to him from all four corners of the earth. Now, he was very simplistic in what he was doing, which brings us to this next. Oh, I don't have him in here. Okay. The next man was named Sebastian Knipp, who was a Catholic priest, and this Catholic priest was a gentleman who actually started putting together a protocol for doing hydrotherapy. Both of these guys were predecessors to John Harvey Kellogg, and so here, and I don't know how I have this in the slides now because this is not the presentation I was going to pull up, but anyway, that's fine. Here are Karen and I, and you know how I talk about God has a great sense of humor? The very first time I was going to teach a hydrotherapy class, God had to put it right there in the visitor center using John Harvey Kellogg's equipment. And I'm like, I'm not quite ready for this yet. Like this was, it was way over my head. I was in too deep of water, no pun intended. And so, anyway, but what a thrilling event this was. And so, John Harvey Kellogg actually had a lot to do with, what we know today is, hydrotherapy. So he did a lot of his learning from Vincent Priestness and from this Sebastian Knipp. Now, he wrote several books on hydrotherapy. He started the Battle Creek Sanitarium. And by the way, you know what's interesting? All three of these men practiced, guess what? Basically, the laws of health. All of them. They were vegetarian. They believed in getting fresh air, fresh sunlight, drinking lots of water. So they had these common threads that they were using. Very interesting that all these guys all had kind of the same thing. So why does hydrotherapy work? Well, the way Dr. Kellogg explained it was that perfect circulation equals perfect health. Now think about that for a minute, because you got your blood that's flowing through the body, right? And it's carrying your nutrients, it's carrying your oxygen, it's getting rid of your waste. And when it's stuck in certain areas, it's not moving properly, and it's kind of like the diabetes that we was talking about. Things aren't moving and going to places that they're supposed to. Now, there's a physiology that works in hydrotherapy, and it kind of goes like this. When you apply hot water to the exterior of your body, it's going to speed up your blood circulation. And then when you use cold water, it's going to slow down your circulation, okay? So that's what it's going to do. Now, when you're talking about hydrotherapy externally, realize that you're putting it on your skin, and we know that the skin is the largest organ in the body, right? And it's porous. So it's very practical. Now, some of the reasons that we would actually use water is because, number one, water is very plentiful. We talked this morning about how, like the body's made of over 60% water. Did you realize that the earth is over 70% water? So you can find water almost anywhere you go. So water is usually freely available. It's a great conductor of hot and cold, okay? And so for these reasons, it just seems like it's just a great gift from God. And when we see what actually works in, it's extremely important. So when you have the circulation, what's happening is it increases your circulation. This is going to cause your white blood cells to come out and say, hey, there's something going on here. We need to resolve this problem. So it's calling your white blood cells to come out and physically come out and help your body to get better. It also causes you to produce lysosomes, which helps to get rid of the bacteria in your body. And finally, because it's circulating the blood properly, what's happening is that you're going to get this circulation, so it's going to help relieve the congestion of blood that's near the organs, okay? So very, very, it seems like it's so simple. You're saying it's just water, right? It's a simple thing. By the way, and so this wasn't in here, in this presentation, can you think of a person in the Bible that practiced hydrotherapy? I know Rhonda knows because she talked about it the other day. So you can answer. Who? Naaman. That's right. And what happened? He was hit. So he was told, right, that he needed to go dip in the River Jordan how many times? 7 times. So now first off, he didn't like this because it made him look silly, right? You know, in our terms.
The Jordan River was dirty.
Yeah. So you're not thinking there's a whole lot of healing properties in here, right? Yeah, probably not. And all he's doing is dipping 7 times, right? So he goes down 1, 2, 3, and he's coming up, and nothing's getting any better. You can imagine he's sitting there saying, "This is ridiculous. I'm going home," you know. And he gets to 6, and I'm sure he's probably just messed up in the mind by now. And he gets to 7, he goes down, he comes up, and he's clean. This all goes back to what we talked about this morning, and that is that we can do all of these things, but it's God ultimately that's performing these miracles. So it's just that God gives us these tools that we can use, and so, but Jesus uses the simple things to make foolish of the wise. I find this to be very interesting. Now let's talk a little bit about some different types of hydrotherapy. Now, you'll know, by the way, you should have, and I'm not encouraging you to look right now, but you should have some QR codes from your bulletin this morning that should give you your handout for this class. So most of the stuff that we're going over, you should have this. Now, there you go, looking. I said not to look yet. Okay.
Are there extra? We weren't here this morning.
I don't know the answer to that.
I think we weren't here this morning. If we could get that from somebody.
Okay. Problem solved? We're good? All right, she's got it. We're doing good here. So I want to talk about just a couple of hydrotherapy treatments. Russian steam bath. This is very good for when you need a detoxification, all right? This is great. And by the way, we're going to do a demonstration, and it's not going to be an actual demonstration. I wouldn't do that in the sanctuary. But also on top of that, what I have found is that it's an actual treatment. And so when we're finished with the treatment, we usually have a person either go lie down and rest, or it can actually be to help prepare them for a different type of treatment, such as a massage or another hydrotherapy treatment. So therefore, I'm not going to do a full demonstration, but that's okay because you can use this, exactly what I'm doing, in your class if you do if you do a health expo or something like that, because you should be able to do this presentation in like 5 minutes. Russian steam bath can be done in this same setup. When I do the hot foot bath, the material will be closely wrapped around the person. And in a steam bath, we would take the same thing. If you were going to use this, I wouldn't use a metal chair. I would find a wooden chair, or you could just simply take something like an additional blanket and put kind of on it so that the body's not touching metal. And then you're simply going to wrap it more like a tent. And you're going to make this out. And you could take the same equipment that we're going to talk about. So before we get into that, let me talk about a little equipment first here. Now, you guys know that my wife and I travel together all the time, and we get along 100% of the time. But we do have a couple of differences.
I'm going to have to learn your secret.
I'm not talking about you. No, ma'am. So, when we're talking about things, so here I'm going to protect the floor here with a piece of plastic. Here I happen to have a tablecloth. Now, my wife's a cook, so she likes tablecloths, right? And she likes shower curtains. She likes these for things that you could put on the floor or maybe even wrap around a person. Now, see me, I'm more manly. What? So I get my plastic from the paint department. Hers you recycle. Mine, I roll it out. I cut it out. When I'm finished, I throw it in the trash can, okay? But there's different ways that you can find and use your plastic, okay? I just wanted to share that there's a couple ways you can do that. Now, again, my wife's a cook. So one of the things we're going to do, we need to make sure that the water temperature is correct, right? So my wife has a thermometer that she likes to use. And I'm saying there's no way that I'm putting my feet in with this thing that's going to cook me and tell something I'm ready to eat. So this is her idea. Now, listen, you guys can vote and see who's better at this than the other one. You have to tell me I am. Again, I go to the pool department. Nice, safe. It's not hurting nobody. It's not jabbing anybody. You know, this is nice. So this gives you, and it's got nice big letters. As we're getting older, we can read it a lot better. A couple of dollars for that, something like that. Very interesting. Here we go. Safety pins, you know. I don't know about the other men in this room. Sometimes I say things that get me into trouble. So I don't want safety pins anywhere near me, you know, because they might accidentally slip and give me a little jab, you know what I'm saying? So safety pins, that's what she does. Oh, I don't want to tell you what I had to do on this one. I'm embarrassed. Chip clip. What? It's great. I mean, hey, listen, if it's on there, it's not holding a bag of chips together for me, right? But anyway, so that's some tools that we can use here in hydrotherapy. I also brought along this little guy right here. It has a little base with it. You can use this for like a steam kettle, so you can keep your hot water in this. They make all kinds of these things now. We have one now. In fact, I didn't get it in here this time, but it's about half this size. And so it's just perfect. It just fits right in, so you can just take and you can pour your hot water in. Okay? So when you're doing a Russian steam bath, some of the things that you might use, in the Russian steam bath, is you're going to try to keep that head out, and you're going to do this, try to build it up to steam for about 20 minutes, okay? 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how the person can handle it. This is something that usually two people should do together, because when you get somebody, what you're doing, you're actually starting to elevate to a slight grade fever. And so you're going to use something, I'm trying to find it here real quick, like a little washcloth that you can have and damp over their head, and so that they can stay, keep their forehead cool, okay? Because you don't need the forehead hot, you just need the body hot so that it can expand and get rid of the toxins. So it's great for helping to get rid of the toxins.
So you're like bringing an artificial fever to help the body to be able to activate to fight that.
Correct. So and also then again, that's going to actually open those pores so that you can get the toxins out. I have a sister that lost a large amount of weight in a short period of time, but she wasn't able to get rid of all of the toxins quick enough, and she stayed sick an awful lot. So you have to be moderate in everything that you do and not try to do everything all at once. Ice massage, very simple to do. That's usually used for like breaks or sprains or something of this nature, and so very important when we're doing ice massage. You can make them up ahead. You can buy just a little Solo cup or a little styrofoam cup. Just put it in the freezer, and when you pull it out, the styrofoam actually I think works a little bit better. Just kind of rip it down just a little bit, and you can make just like what they got these nice things up there in the picture, so that you can actually do the ice. The ice is usually done 15 to 20 minutes. You're going to find 4 stages in an ice massage. You're going to find first that it's very cold, right? And nobody likes that stage, right? It's kind of, but then that takes you to the second stage, which is a little bit of pain, right? You're going to start to feel a little bit of pain, and then as that pain starts to wear on, it's actually going to go to, it's almost like strange, just like it goes almost to like into your bone, almost like an ache. And then after that, though, it goes numb. And so at this point, it's working, and it's really good. And it only takes a couple of minutes to go through these stages. And so when my wife fell down the steps, we did these ice massages on her. Next day, she was able to walk with the cast because she had to do a class. And she survived it, and we continued to do throughout the day, the hot contrast baths and foot baths, and we also was doing the ice massage as well. Final one is fomentations. Anybody in here familiar with fomentations? Okay, very good. So you've done a little bit of work with hydrotherapy. This is a little bit more complex. I'm not going to go into it a whole lot. But we did do this when we had COVID. And what you would do is you would take and you would typically lay down on a bed and relax. And you can do multiple hydrotherapy treatments at one time. So I would do a hot foot bath, which I'm going to demonstrate here with her laying down. And we would do fomentations at the same time. So I would put something down, like a towel or something on the bed. And then this would be very, very hot, come out of a steam kettle. I'd simply lay that down with like a wool blanket on top of this. And then she's going to lay her back on there. And then we would get the other fomentations, and then we would apply them. And for her, because she was dealing with, that she was having asthma, we actually did a fomentation to the chest. One thing I want to tell you about hydrotherapy while we're right here at this, it's an amazing treatment. But you want to be a little careful with it, okay? Because if someone is dealing with something, for example, low blood pressure, that would be something that would be a challenge that you want to recognize and treat accordingly. It can be treated, but it needs to be treated accordingly. So obviously, in a class like this, we're not going over that kind of information. Fomentations and other treatments, if a person actually has cancer, can actually speed up the cancer process if given incorrectly. We find fomentations to be a great way to fight cancer, but it has to be done properly. So I would say if anybody knows anybody who has cancer, that they simply just don't do these. Maybe you would want to go to a physician who knows something about that and find someone who actually knows how to apply them the way that the doctor would want to have those applied, because you don't want to go out. See, our goal, guess what, when we're helping people, is to help people. It's not to make them get worse. And there's nothing worse than people going out and trying to be something that they're not and thinking they got a lot of information that they don't have. I had someone ask me a question today. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer. We sometimes we have to say that. I'm not a medical doctor. Most medical doctors don't have all the answers neither. But you need to be careful when you're talking about doing these kinds of things. But when you do things simple and at home, and you say, hey, I've tried this and this has worked for me, would you like to try something like this? I think that's a much better option for you, especially starting out and learning how to do hydrotherapy. So this is fomentations, just a little bit on those guys. Talk just a couple more. Contrast shower. I actually took a contrast shower this morning, and I took one yesterday. Very, very good. If you feel like you may be catching a cold or flu, or I just do it, just actually invigorates you. So, it gives you more energy through the day. So, and I'm getting up in age now, so I need every edge I can get, right? So, very important to have that. Contrast showers, this contrast shower that's on the picture right here, there's lots of jets in there, and it's, something like that's amazing. Most of the time you don't have that. You just got one jet coming down, and you just kind of rotate around. So what we do is what we call, one section. And so that is actually where you'll do 3 minutes of hot and then 30 seconds of cold. All right, excuse me, the word I was looking for there was exchange. So 3 minutes of hot, 30 seconds of cold. And you do that 3, 4, or 5 times, depending on what you want to do. You always end pretty much in cold. And the same thing with most of the other treatments that you're doing, you're almost always going to end in cold. And so the steam shower or contrast shower is really great. You can just take and rotate around for 3 minutes, and then do 30. When we did it at the Lifestyle Center, now I didn't really work a lot in that, but my dad was there, and I'm taking him down there. And he's like, oh, this is good. And so he gets in there in 3 minutes of hot, and oh, he's happy, man. He's excited. And then they say the cold is coming, and I'm here to tell you that hall's about 250 feet long, and you could hear him on the other end of that hall hollering. I think he's an extremist. I don't know if it was as bad as he was making it out to be, but there's been other people that have felt the same way. I don't know, but it's not necessarily comfortable. That's right.
30 seconds.
That's right. And so, just sing the Lord's Prayer while you're going around, and by the time you're done, you'll have that accomplished. The steam inhalation, I think that's really important, especially with COVID. You know, that's a respiratory issue, a respiratory problem, something that Karen and I obviously did. You can do something as simple as, you can take a kettle like this and put it on low and just grab the steam and go over it. We weren't quite that savvy. We just simply took a small glass bowl, put hot water in it. We put a couple of drops of some oils, essential oils. We did maybe 1 drop of oregano. We didn't do very many because we tried that one time and they choked us to death. So, oregano is very strong. So you don't want to use a lot of oregano, but we did some eucalyptus and some peppermint, put that in there. Great time. What can I tell you about that? Oh, this was in Ecuador. They decided they want to go all out. So they took this umbrella and they put this sheet over it. It was just incredibly great. It was just a lot of fun. So you can do a lot of different things. One of the nice things about hydrotherapy, I actually forgot my hydro case one time. We just go back in the back and dug up things and made something so we could make it work. You should be able to find things at home that you can make this work without having to go out and spend any extra money. It's really kind of nice. God's way isn't there about trying to bring in the dollar, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now let's talk about the hot foot bath. I think we're about in that time. Hot foot baths are good for many things. They are good for if you have cramps, if you are, if you have problems with high blood pressure, if you're dealing with a cold or a flu, or if you have, like your organs are very charged together with the blood, you will find that this is very good for that. Hot foot bath is also good for getting you ready for any other type of treatment, such as we talked about the fomentations or for a massage. So they kind of work hand in hand synergistically to help us to be able to enjoy these other treatments as well. When you do a treatment, you want to make sure that it's in a room that is vent-free, which is another reason why I would say that the captain, I'm trying to think of his name now, Captain Naaman, did that. He was in the breeze, right? So God can take whatever we have and work with it, but there's certain things that we try to do, in certain directions. So hot foot bath. Now, if you are someone who is diabetic or has some type of nerve issue, you can do a hot foot bath, but it really needs to be under 102 degrees, okay? So if a person is definitely a known diabetic with neuropathy, you for sure want to make sure you're actually checking the water temperature to make sure that you don't get too hot. And I sat there and argued with my teachers for hours over this. I'm like, this is not a big issue because at 104, it's not going to burn their foot off. And they finally got through my thick head that we're talking about the nerves, and you don't want to cause more nerve damage. You can actually help the nerves if you do this just a little bit more moderately for diabetes. So, let's see, where was we at here? Some of the reasons you wouldn't do it, if a person, again, if they have cancer or if they have an open wound, somebody with low blood pressure, you probably wouldn't want to do this treatment. Again, this is a treatment that you would do with 2 people. And when you're finished, you would want to have the person lie down, go to another treatment, and if they do the other treatment, for sure they need to go lie down, okay? So we're going to try to demonstrate this in about 5 minutes and see what we can come up here. I brought out a chair. I brought out a piece of plastic. I got something to put my feet in. So the first piece I'm going to put down is just simply a blanket. I'm going to put it a little bit past the chair because when I bring it up, I'm going to bring it around their neck, okay? I want this to be in here nice. Well, yes, because excuse me, the blanket's going to roll up around you. Excuse me, and then on top of the blanket, I'm going to put a sheet. Now there are different levels and degrees of doing a hot foot bath. This would be a basic, But if you needed to have more, a stronger treatment, you could actually add to this, and on top of the, actually between the blanket and the sheet, you could put a piece of plastic. And that way you could actually help hold that heat in even better than the blanket. Okay, now I've got a bucket here. Now you're going to imagine with me that I've got some water in here. Now it only needs to go about as deep, it needs to cover the ankle, okay? Now I've got this out and I've got some water in here. I got somebody's getting ready to try this. Above the ankle. Yes, and so, yeah, because you need that in order to get that, the draw. What a hot foot bath is going to do is going to draw the blood basically from your head all the way down to your feet. So you will find that there will probably be a little bit of edema or swelling of the feet when it gets down to your feet, okay? Especially if there's an issue. Obviously, if your blood's circulating, it's going to be a lot less better, a lot less worse than otherwise. Now, I don't have a thermometer. I don't have a diabetic. I need to test my water. I need my nurses and doctors. There you go. Elbows. See, I got you guys are good. You guys already got the, come on, you guys want to demonstrate? You'll be better than me anyway at this.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we're going to put this down. We got our water in here. I'm going to have a bucket here that's going to have some ice water in it, right? And we'll save that for the end. Now, I have to tell you, we had some car trouble the other day, so I busted my cup. I got a straw left. The straw is important because anybody can get a cup. But the straw is good because we're going to wrap the person up. They're going to need to keep hydrated, right? So we need a way for them to be able to drink without being able to get their arms out and using that. And it's probably not the easiest way to try to help someone to drink. A straw is just much easier. It's just not that complicated. We're going to have a bucket here of ice water. And I'll get a couple of towels ready here. And let's see here. Now, if I have a volunteer to come up and do this, I will tell you that you will be warm for a couple of minutes.
Let me do it because I can't see what you're doing.
That'll be fine. You need to see the chair here?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't see anything.
All right, so come here. I'm going to draw you over here, and I want to just have you turn around. Turn around some more. You have to trust me now and just sit down. There you go. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine, we're going to let her leave her shoes on today because it's just a demonstration. And I'm going to ask you to raise your legs just a little bit, not high. And then we'll just take them and raise them and put this in the
Is there
space.
water in there?
No, there's no water. I wouldn't do that to you.
I was hoping you would. Dang.
Yeah, this is pretend water.
There you go.
It's the same type of water you get in Flint, Michigan. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
All right. Anyway, so now I'm going to take it. By the way, I have found there's one very important thing. So when you're going to do, well, I want to say two things. One is you need to tell the person what you're doing and why you're doing it, so that they have a good understanding there. That's just good common sense to use that. Second thing is we always want to pray with the person, before we actually do a treatment. So just imagine that we did a prayer here. And so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to start to wrap this around. I'm going to bring this kind of around their neck a little bit.
That's just a sheet.
This is just a sheet.
Okay, so this is why you need two people because you need someone to wrap you up?
Well, no, the reason that you need two people is because what happens is if you get off of here and you're having an issue to where you can't stabilize yourself. So I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to go over and I'm going to go ahead and get this here first. And we're going to get the towel here, or the blanket. I'm going to put this around as well. Now you'll see that we're putting this out here so that we don't actually get this into the water too much. I want to slide your feet back just a little bit just so we can get this like so.
I think I have a robe that would do the same thing.
You probably do. And that's the whole point. You can find or figure out something that will work. Where's my chip clip? Aha. Here, you're fine. All right, now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get a small towel and no, this one's actually not going to have cool water on this one. I have one that will have cool water. But this, we're just going to take this and we're going to run this around the neck. Go underneath the neck there nicely. And I'll attach all this together.
Don't mind that he's choking me. No.
I did not, and I didn't use a pen or anything, so, okay, we're good here. I'm going to get a couple of blankets ready, or towels. I'll have a towel ready at her feet. So now she's going to do this for a period of about 20 minutes, okay? And what's going to happen is every now and then we're going to check the water and make sure that it's hot. Now, if the person's not comfortable and you're not comfortable, you need to take and move their feet out of the bucket and to the side. If they're comfortable and if you're comfortable and you have the proper equipment, you can simply have them move their feet over to the side and bring your bottle and just put your hand in between them and pour that in there and then stir it around a little bit with your hand, okay? All right, you put your feet back in. Now we'll get to the next part that we were talking about. And I got to find that here. So I have a washcloth here, and I got my bucket of ice water. And now you're ready for your photo op. We're going to sit here, and we're going to put this down the ice. I like to fold it, wring it out, and fold it real well. And just simply apply it over the forehead like so, just so that they're nice and cool there, because we're trying to make sure that they don't have a high fever, okay? Smile real big, you're getting your picture taken.
Happy Sabbath!
So we're going to do this for like 20 minutes. Now, when we're finished, and we've done all these things, of course, so we're going to offer something to drink. How are you feeling? You know, we're going to ask these, are you feeling a little lightheaded? Are you okay? Well, you may, but not under my watch today. So we simply would now unwrap her. What's that? Just to keep the remainder of the air in there, to keep the heat down where she can.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
So when would they drink water?
Well, they would drink water as often as they wanted during the 20 minutes. Yeah, and after the 20 minutes and before the 20 minutes, and whenever you can get water in somebody, you just put it in them, right? You can drink, by the way, you can drink too much water and die, be too alkaline, but your chances of doing that's probably not too good. So, okay, now when we're finished, yes? Oh, well, that's why I had a straw and a cup, because your arms are actually tied in there. Now,
So I can hold the cup inside the wrap.
no. Your caregiver will handle that for you. Well, let me ask you a question then. What would you do?
Call somebody.
Well, you have nobody. Guess what you would do? You could put you some water. No, don't leave yet. I'm not finished with you. And so what you would do is you would actually do the best that you can. You want to drink the water, right? So it would be better for you to have the cup and the water and maneuver around.
Obviously, just don't get up quick. And just
Yeah. So you know, you can skirt the systems to some degree. That's not optimal.
How about a side table? Do it by a table so you can just reach over?
Well, sure, you could. Anything that works. Listen, this isn't physics, all right? This is something practical. But there again, so the first method is to have somebody there. If you can't have somebody, guess what? There's people that don't live with anybody, right? It's better to do the treatment than not do the treatment in most cases. So therefore, it would be better for them, even if they don't do 100% perfect, to do some of it and get some benefit than to get no benefit, right? So that's that. Now, as we're finishing up, on this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to have a towel or two. And so I'm going to take a towel, and I'm going to run out of time. But what we're going to do is I'm going to get down here, and I'm going to say, what's your name again?
Shelley.
Shelly. All right, Shelly, I want you to raise your foot just a little bit, not far. And I want to take this ice water right here, and I'll start on her leg, and I'll just kind of just drain down like this on her leg. And then I'll take this towel right here, and I'll just basically tap it dry. It's very simple. Now, if you're going to do a little bit more complicated one, then you could take your washcloth here, and you can put it in here, get it nice and cold, and do the cold friction and do that. So again, there's different levels of degrees, but we're basically teaching just right now just a very basic chair massage for 5 minutes. So now you can put both of your feet out. And I would have just simply rinsed those out. I could hold them for her, and then just simply just dry that off, okay? And then I would pull the bucket out to the side, and I would say, all right, Shelly, we are done, and you can go back to your seat now. Do you need a hand back? Or you good? You got right here's the, okay. Do you see the simplicity of this? You're welcome. And this works. I'm telling you guys, this works. Yes?
So we only do this when a person is in pain?
You can do it when a person feels good. Yeah. Listen, it's not going to hurt you. There's nothing there. Now, again, under the same rules and stipulations, that's number one, you don't know. Right, if you don't have any of the contraindications. Thank you. You can do this 3-4 times a day, because it's not something that's going to hurt you, again, if you don't have the contraindications.
And if it's done well.
Right. But now, listen, and after each treatment, you're going to want to rest. Yes? I did this with my son, yes, because I wanted to practice it. but we did the contrast shower that we mentioned. We did a throat compress, and we did steam inhalation. So, we did a variety of different things. I'm like, I don't know what's going to work or don't work. And it's the old adage, if you throw enough mud on the wall, something will stick, right? None of them is going to hurt anybody. He's got a sore throat. Why not do a throat compress? And you know what I have? I have a ski hat. Anybody here got a ski hat? So I just took a pillowcase. That's all I had at the house at the time. Took a pillowcase, and I just did room temperature water, folded it so it was about the width of that towel right there, and I wrapped it around his neck. And instead of putting a clip on it or anything, I had a wool ski hat, which was perfect because it had no top on it. Pulled it down, flipped it over, and voila, and he slept like a baby all night because it wasn't anything in his neck or anything to cause any problems or why he couldn't roll or do whatever without waking up. Any other questions? Yes? Say that again? Mm-hmm. If you have cancer, I wouldn't do any of these treatments unless a doctor knew specifically what was going on, and he recommended it, and that he was trained in doing this for specifically people dealing with cancer. Again, because there are protocols that you can actually do that are helpful, but it is an immune booster, all right? When you boost your immune, everything is boosted, right? So cancer is if it's see, we all have cancer in our body, right? But it's when it gets together and starts forming that it becomes a problem, and it's a little stronger. So it's a little bit stronger than what.
Encourage that.
No, you don't. Thank you. That's a nice way. You don't want to encourage it. Thank you. All right. Let's move on. My man up top. Let's go to massage for a minute. The first part of massage we're going to do in here, this will be a little bit of a technical class, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sunroom, right? You guys got a lovely place for this here, and we're going to practice on each other. We're going to learn first. And we're going to go out, and I'm going to, is there Is there anyone in here who does not want to practice doing the massage?
Who's what?
Does not want to practice doing the massage?
Would it help sleep apnea?
Well, sleep apnea. That's a different bird. I'm not going to answer that because I don't have a solid answer for you. I'm going to tell you that it definitely won't hurt. But sleep apnea, there's some other underlying issues in there that need to be addressed. And so I would say that there would be some other things that I would want to do, for sleep apnea.
Massage can help with relaxation, but it's not going to help with sleep apnea. That needs to be addressed differently.
Yes. And I think that's important to know because, sometimes, how do I say this nicely? Sometimes health reformers get on kicks, and one thing cures everything for everybody. Listen, charcoal's great and does a lot of great things, but it's not the end-all, be-all. And so there's a lot of different, God's given us a lot of different tools. He's also given us a brain to think with. There's certain things that you need to go see a doctor about and have these addressed appropriately, right? I'm definitely not anti-physician at all. And so, I think that we need to address things the best we know how. Yeah, and then see if there are ways that we can fix things other than standard medicine for long periods of time. All right, we are going to massage. And so if we'll pull up the massage PowerPoint, we'll spend just a few minutes on this, and then we will all, I don't know if there's enough room in the sunroom for all of us to do the massage. You got, if ever, huh? It'll work. Okay, it'll work out. That's who, what?
You gonna leave that like that?
For right now? Why, you want to fold it? If it's going to bother you, have at it. I have work I have to do. Listen, they brought me up here, but not to fold things. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to go too terribly crazy on it because I have to take it now at home. When I go home, I'll wash, all my stuff. Being sanitary is very important when you do this kind of work, especially when we're talking getting the massage. We've got massage up? Oh, good. Listen, I'm the one slow behind here, huh? Look here. Look. There we Okay. Oh, sorry. You can see my wife has her hands full, right? Okay. I'm going to pull my massage chair out here. We're going to talk about a 5-minute chair massage. That's basically what we're going to talk about. There's several different chapters. By the way, if you guys are interested in the light course, these are just snippets from the light course and things that you would learn as a medical missionary. I like sharing these because I really like the idea that we could be able to go out and instantly put these to work in any type of program. If you do dinner with the doctor, if you decide that you want to do what you guys are doing, the vegetarian cooking club, guess what? Have people come by 15, 20 minutes early and say, hey, guess what? If you come by early, you get a massage. Listen, you think, that's right. See, people think that when you use Christ's method alone that you're not supposed to think outside the box. I don't think that at all. I think we need to think a whole lot sharper than we're thinking because we're missing a lot of nice people. And so I believe in Christ's method 100%, but I believe there's multiple ways that you can do it, okay? Even when you're passing out glow tracts. There's nothing wrong with passing out glow tracts. I saw they were doing the Great Controversy. By the way, I love the Great Controversy. We're told we're supposed to spread those like the leaves of autumn. But if we don't explain to people what they're getting, listen. When we went to a conference in Arizona, they were passing out Great Controversies. But you know what they did? They earmarked them at chapter 35. You know what chapter 35 is, right? Freedom of conscience, right? So, Anyway, so I'm going to set this up here, and then we'll talk for just a minute. As you can see, as I'm putting this up, if I can put this up, anybody can do it. All right, here we go. Okay. Now, all I got to do now is find my remote. Here it is. So why would we use massage? Does anybody need to stretch for a minute or so? Huh? Because we only have just a few minutes. I only got 45 minutes left. Okay. All right, so we're going to really move this along. I'm going to tell you one story, and probably we'll just get into kind of the basics of this. The very first time that I did a chair massage, my very first one, right out of the gate. I don't know why God's got this right out of the gate for me thing, but he just wants to throw me straight in the deep end of the pool and say, buddy, let's see if you can sink or swim. A guy comes up to me, kind of looks kind of rough. And I said, hey, would you like a massage? I'm at the rest booth at the Health Expo, which is where we do them. And I said, would you like a massage? He said, sure. And I sat down and I asked him if I could pray with him, and he was great with that. And by the way, I've never had anyone, we were just at this over in North Carolina, no one refused to have prayer. If someone did, you know what I would do? I'd pray silently for them. There's a lot of power in intercessory prayer. If there's not, we need to stop praying for our children. So I know you believe that there's power in intercessory prayer. Now, this guy comes up and he says to me, he says, well, I hope you can do this. So I get in there. Now, when you do massage, you don't want to be babbling on like at me, you know. You want to just kind of make this a nice, relaxing, quiet time. And that's what I did. And what the guy said to me, I wasn't ready for. I was not ready. I'm going to tell you what he said. We get finished with the massage. By the way, before I tell you what he said, touch. Jesus touched people physically. That physical touch, that's the connection that Jesus made with people. He made a physical touch. And so there's power in touch when used properly. And so this guy says to me, right, I hope you're sitting down for this. This guy says to me, he says, you know, sir, he says, I've never been properly touched before. And I grabbed my heart. You know, I didn't know, I wasn't ready for this. I'm a newbie straight out of the school. You know, I'm not ready for somebody to say something like this to me. And I thought, man, God, you've used me in a mighty way. And so, now typically in rest, you're going to go to temperance, and then somebody will take you then to the trust booth. I said, come here with me, buddy. And we're just going to go over here, and we're going to talk to this guy over here. And I sent him straight to the pastor where they could have a little conversation. Listen, there is power in this stuff, my friends. I'm telling you, when you say, God, use me, and you say, give me a divine appointment, watch out, because they're coming. The problem is that many of us don't recognize that they're actually coming and that they're actually here. And sometimes we just pass by what's right in front of us. But anyway, so having said that, it was really amazing. We had opportunities again in India, around the world to do that. We don't have time to go through that. I'd love to tell the stories, just don't have time. So we're going to talk about a 5-minute chair massage. Obviously, that's used in the rest booth. So this would cover our water and our rest. Those are, to me, would be the more complicated ones to try to fill when you're doing a health expo. The others seem to be a little easier, in my opinion. When we say 5-minute chair massage, it means, guess what, how many minutes? 5. You know why that's important to me? A couple of reasons. Number one, if you're doing a health expo, you're moving everybody in a flow, so you can't just hang around and do extra things. But the other thing is you know, I'm over here and I'm working with, I can't even, Rhonda. What's your husband's name? I forgot. Shannon, thank you. I knew it and I couldn't think of it, Shannon. I'm sorry. That's been a long day for me. So I'm giving Shannon a massage here, right? And I you know, keep going. And I forget where I'm at. And, you know, 10, 12 minutes down the road, I say, all right, Shannon, you're done. And Pastor Baldwin looks at me and says, after I did a 4-minute with him on him, why did Shannon get a 12-minute and I get 4 minutes? People are like this, you know, so and they're watching. So we need to be aware. So it's very important to be very systematic as much as possible to be very mechanical, yet, thank you. Why are you up here? You got all these right words. We need to be consistent because we also need to allow the Holy Spirit to guide our hands when appropriated, okay? So I always believe in allowing the Holy Spirit to step in and helping us. So here are some of the things that we're going to talk about when you're doing a 5-minute chair massage. First off, you want to make sure that your equipment's always nice and sanitized. It has just been sanitized right now, so it's good to go. I just swallowed something. If you have on a sweater or a jacket, you want to remove that. For everybody, men and women alike, it is very good to ask the person before they sit down to tuck in their shirt in the back. You will find, because if it's not tucked in, it's trying to ride up your back. So you want it to be as tight as possible. You want to make sure that, I lost my train of thought here, that they're, well, of course, for modesty as well. But I'm saying just for the fact that it's, that it actually will make the transitions actually better as well. Obviously, we don't want to work for that. Remember that when we are doing this, we are representing our church. So we do need to practice modesty. When I do a back massage, and it's interesting, I'll ask somebody, well, where's the most pain? And you know where most everybody tells me? My lower back. And I'll say, I appreciate that. I'll say, I'll do what I can. But I'm not going past here because I'm not going to invade any privacy spots for them. And so I want them to know that. I want them to know that they're secure with that. When we go to do a massage, we want to make sure that there's no outlying conditions that would cause them not to be able to, like an accident or some osteoporosis or something of this nature. We want to ask them these things. We want to ask them, is there an area in their back that needs a little extra attention? Because you can do it. You can do a little less on one and a little bit more on another, right? That's allowing your hands to work differently. And so, let's see here, what else we got on there? Talking about the head being comfortable, having the head at a nice angle. I brought a chair. I also have a table chair, which is really nice. Listen, when we were in India, we just used a table or chair, In fact, the chairs had big sides on them, so you makeshift. You do with what you got. And so, just very important here. Let's see here. It's always important to pray. We talked about that. You don't want to talk a lot. You want to watch for body language. If they're squirming and doing things like this, that's probably you're not doing the right thing. You don't want to go way down on the sides of their back again. You're approaching private area, but also there's a lot of people, especially young kids and maybe some older kids, got little giggle boxes right in here. So you're not trying to make everybody laugh. This is just a little bit more quiet and solitude of a time. And you want people just to feel comfortable, When you do your strokes, you want nice, smooth, even strokes. You don't want choppy, uneven strokes. I find that most people, I don't know why, when they start this, they're like they're nervous, and so they're just kind of like doing things like, and I'm sitting there thinking, this doesn't feel good if you're thinking about somebody doing this to you. Why are you doing it, Make a nice, smooth stroke. It's not very complicated, okay? Let's see, I've got a glare up here. Body language, keep a constant pressure. When you put your hand on a person, once you start the massage, I tell you not to take it off, and it's not for any Eastern religion thought. And I've had a lot of people say it, but no, when you're behind somebody and they don't know that you're there, when you move your hand, it may feel fast to them, might scare them. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know you. So you just want to, do this kind of respect for other people, okay? And so I'm trying to think. Pinching. I don't know why people want to pinch. Sometimes you can do some nice little rolls up the back or whatever. And when we were teaching this in Ecuador, and this guy put it on me, and I'm like, oh, I'm telling him, watch body language. You're killing me here, because it hurt, Oh, the other reason I don't go low on the back, because that's also in your kidney area. And I tell everybody, I had a grandmother, I call her Grandma Kidney Blow. Grandma loved me a lot, right? And so she's coming up to me, and she's like, bam, 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 bam. right in the kidneys, and I'm like, oh, that hurts, you know. I don't know, maybe I got an oversensitive back. I don't know, but it was just hard on me. So I don't like to do anything in the lower back. And honestly, so what happens is when I'm doing a massage, you'll watch, I'm applying a lot of pressure up in the shoulders, and as I go down, I automatically tend to get lighter because as I get toward the kidney area, that's just me. That's just what I like to do on that. Okay? So we're going to take right now, I'm going to find someone who, I need to say one, no, sorry. I need to say one thing here. Because we are ministering for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I think that it's very prudent that men do massages for men and ladies for ladies. And so, because of that, I won't do a demonstration for a lady. I'm sorry. Except for there's an exception clause to everything. Husbands and wives, I say go at it and have a good time and enjoy yourselves, and listen. And in that case, guess what? 5-minute rule's out the window. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you got to do at this point, right? So I either need a gentleman to come out and volunteer, or my wife's probably busy because it's confession time. Confession's good for the soul. I made a major mistake. The blame lays solely on me. I wish I could blame my wife, but I can't. I, yours truly, did not pack the natural remedies case.
But we're good.
We're good? Hallelujah. We had enough stuff in the other things, plus you guys was able to pull in the things that we didn't have, and so we'll still be able to continue this class. But I know my wife's sweating back there. I can tell you, I know she's not. I don't have to sleep outside tonight. All right, that's all I need to know. If I'm good at this point, hallelujah, right? Yes.
Would any of your natural remedies have helped allergy, sinus trouble, any of that?
There are some. My wife will go in more to that because that's more her. My wife's the nutritionist, and she studies more in that area. And so, but yeah, my wife actually makes an oil thing that she does. I'm sure there's plenty of people here who do these things too. There's other things you can do. Allergies, a supplement is NAC that's very good. But I don't. But I don't. Yeah, but here's what I'm gonna tell you: medications and supplements should not be taken on a regular basis, in my opinion.
If you are going to take a supplement and you are taking prescription medications, you must check with your pharmacist or your doctor first, because there are supplements that can actually cause your medications to not work, or they can cause the medication to have a really bad side effect. So if you're going to take a natural remedy of any kind, you always need to check with your pharmacist or your physician.
Yeah, but I'm going to caveat that and say that you need to have a physician that understands supplements, because, for example, if you're doing a whole food plant-based diet and you're on metformin, guess what? Your blood sugar is coming down. So you're going to get to a point where it'll start tanking, and they're going to say, hey, you need to stop doing what you're doing. I'm like, well, why wouldn't I stop the metformin? But so you need to have that understanding that they need to know that. And of course, you don't just stop metformin. You would start to wean down. So if you have a physician that understands these things, then that's great, because
The pharmacist can tell you, because there's some medications, some supplements, like valerian root, and you have epilepsy, and some other things that can really cause some problems with your medication. So they can tell you, even if they don't have that training, they can tell you if medications are compatible or not.
right.
You have to check that.
Sure, I don't disagree with that at all. Okay, did I have a volunteer coming up? Was that you over here? Okay. I know you, but I don't know you. I know. All right. Now, this is the point I would tell anybody who does not have their paperwork downloaded for this class to download it, because you're just going to have one page, but it's going to name the steps that we're going to do. We're going to go through 6 basic steps. This should be a 5-minute process. Because I'm doing this demonstration, it'll take a minute more. But anyway, you'll see what we're going to do. So our first step is going to be effleurage, okay? Now, effleurage is where you're basically trying to warm up the back muscles. And I say this because a lot of people, for some reason, when I'm working with people, is the chair right for you? You look like you're in good shape right there. Okay. What's your name? Mike, okay. So, Sure. Oh, we didn't get enough. It's got to go down just a little bit more.
That's all right.
No, we'll get it down. There you go.
That's good.
Try that right there. Is that better?
Yeah.
Have you had a chair massage before?
Nope.
Okay, because you just hopped on the chair like you knew you were doing. Okay. Okay, well, there you go. That explains it. All right, so our first step's going to be effleurage, all right? Now, what we're going to do is we are attempting to bring the blood circulation up to speed. I need somebody to hold the remote for me. Anybody want to hold that? Because I'm going to have them switch that because I'm going to be staying with this. It's going that way, so it shouldn't be relevant. I think it'll, okay. So now, Mike, is there any reason why I can't do a back massage with you today? Any injuries or anything like that? Any sore spots or anything, Mike? Okay. Mike, do you care if I would pray with you before I would start? Would that be? All right. I'm going to actually pray here. Our kind and gracious and loving Heavenly Father, I thank you for Mike today. I thank you for the many blessings that he brings to the people that he comes in contact with. Right now, Heavenly Father, I pray that you will guide my hands and bring some type of relief to Mike. For I ask all this in the blessed name of Jesus. Amen. All right, so what we're going to do, Mike, I'm going to have you stand up because I'm going to switch this around just a little bit because I'm so large nobody's going to be able to see me. Let's go more like this. Hopefully you guys can see over here. So effleurage is just like a large butterfly stroke, okay? And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to start out light, very light, and then we're going to, each time we go down, we're going to apply a little bit more pressure, okay? So I'm going to start up here near the shoulders. And now, by the way, I'm going to find a decent stance. When I was in India, I was doing 60 and 70 a day. And when you're leaned over like this, listen, you start losing your breath. So got his glass. You can put them, you can hold them on your hands. Okay. That was not something an engineer would do, Mike. Okay. And so now what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the effleurage, and then we'll go to step 2. So effleurage, you'll see. Can everybody see, or hopefully mostly enough? We're just going to kind of start, and I keep my hands together, kind of pull down. You see I'm staying in the boundaries here, kind of stopping here, and go up. See how it's nice and smooth? You can see that I'm physically getting harder as I go. Now what I'm trying to do is bring the blood to the surface here. Okay, and you usually do this about 5 times. Okay, I'm just showing you for a demonstration here. Now step number 2, is going to be petrissage, right? Now petrissage is kind of on the shoulder area, and it's like making a loaf of bread. So just think that you're kneading a loaf of bread. So step number 2, I'm going to take my hands. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this hand on top of this hand, and I'm simply going to squeeze down here. I'm going to try and roll his shoulder at the same time. Okay? Men, pay close attention to this. This is putting money in the bank. I'm just saying, I wasn't talking to you or anything, Shannon. I'm just saying, okay? Okay. Nothing wrong with putting money in the bank, is there? Okay, here we go. Now, you notice I'm not talking to Mike much. I'm watching his body language. Somewhere along the line, I might say something like, Mike, is that too hard? No. Okay. Listen, I'm going to move. Hold your head just a second. I'm going to readjust because this was not right. It's jabbing you. There you go. Okay. Now, if I find somebody that's really tense, I mean, there's a different way that you can do this, but what I would do is bring my elbow in here like this, and I would find where I could just reach in here nicely and just kind of stretch that arm just a little bit like that. But you can tell when you feel tense. Step number 3 is going to be palm friction. We're going to take our palms and we're going to make some circular motions, and it's going to be going up the side of the spine. It's not going to be on the spine because the spine is what? Bone, right? We're not massaging bone, we're massaging muscle. So we're just simply going to start. Remember, I'm not going to start down the kidney area. There's several different ways you can do this. You can apply more pressure in here and just kind of go up like that. You can make some circular motions. You can make some twisting motions, whatever's comfortable for you. But you see his shirt is tucked in nicely, and it makes it nice and easy for my hands just to slide up his back without his shirt trying to ride up. All right, step number 4 is going to be digital friction. Digital friction, we're going to use our fingers like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the base of the neck, making circular motions. We want to have a nice amount of pressure, but we don't want it to be so much that we're squeezing their head, right? And you can see I'm starting to go up into the scalp. And it's nice when a guy's got a collared shirt because you can just kind of go on up like this. But if they don't have a collared shirt, you can just simply go on up, massage up in here into the scalp. No, I do believe in a digestive nap as well, so just. Okay, that's digital friction. All right, step 5 is going to be our deportments and our percussions. We'll start with our percussions, which is this is your chopping, right? Now your fingers, I'm going to take my hand off for a second. Your fingers need to be a little bit loose on this. You want a nice springy move here. You want it to be a little fast. You want it to have a little bit of speed, a little bit of power behind it. And you want it to come down. And now for me, I'm going to stop here, come right back up. So it'll go something like this. It'll go. You'll notice that I keep my hands pivoted just basically at the angle of the back because I'm trying to make sure that I stay off the bone. You can chop the shoulders as well. What's that? Well, that's fine. Okay. Well, that's fine. You don't have to have it. And you can say, please don't do that. And if they don't respect it, then you get up and I don't know what you do. I've never had nobody not respect me. But anyway, if I got up, they're going to stop, right? And I hope you do it before you do the actual. Now, so our next part of this is going to be deportments. We're going to have our hands cupped together with our fingers together like this. You guys can all practice this real quick. This is where you get your test in here. I want to hear pops. I don't want to hear smacks. Pops are going to sound like this. You'll feel the air pressing in your hand. Smacks are like this. Smacks hurt. Pops don't, okay? So it should sound something like this when you're doing this, okay? And you need a little bit more rhythm than I have. But anyway, that's. Mike, the little drummer boy. Here we go. Okay. Step 6 is going to be a nerve vibration, which is basically going to be effleurage in reverse. So we're going to start, and I'm going to start with applying a high amount of pressure. There's different ways that you can do this. So, I mean, it's not like one thing does everything. You can simply go down the back like this. A lot of people like that, right? But what I'm going to show you here is simply that you would start with a nice, you can see I got pressure on here, nice and fast. I'm getting lighter, and I'm getting slower. A little lighter, a little slower. We're telling your body that we're finishing up here. Getting down to the fingers. And then I like to take and flip my fingers over to my fingertips. Go extremely light, almost just like I'm dragging them up his back here. We have some troublemakers in the back now. They move from the front to the back. And then I would simply tap Mike on the back and say, hey, we're finished, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Now have your attention, please. This is going to take us a little thought process here. For those who want to practice the massage, before you come over to the next room, I want you to find your partner. Husbands and wives, it's okay? But I want you to find a partner. I want you to come over. I know this is never going to happen, but I'm going to tell you anyway. We need the chairs a ways away from each other. It's hard for somebody to work here and somebody sitting right here. You see what I'm saying? So you need some room in here in order to work. So there's no tables in the sunroom, or there's just chairs, right? Should we go to the dining room? Because we do have tables where you can lay your head down. Well, we can put them to work too. I have no problem with people. What's that? What's the consensus? Where are we going? We can go to the cafeteria? Okay, so listen. When you find a partner, I want you to go in there. I want one person to sit in the chair. You can sit in it one of two ways. You can either straddle the chair to where the chair is facing the table, or you can sit in the chair like this if you're uncomfortable straddling it, and sit in the chair like this with the back to the side. Everybody tries to get in like this. Listen, it's not, how are you supposed to do somebody's back when it's back there? It doesn't work. So what I want you to do is grab your partner, one person sit behind the person, have the other person standing behind that person, and leave 2 or 3 chairs open beside you so that you can have plenty of room. You don't need to be on top of each other, okay? So if we said that, let's go that way. And so this class we're technically finished with on this part of it. So I'm not coming back in here to do any more theory. We're going to go in here and we're going to practice this and make this thing happen in real, okay? And you guys are going to give each other a massage, and it's going to be fun. All right, let's go.